First bow review of 2025, even though it's July of 2024. Elite Exault 35. What's this all about? Hello, welcome back to the YouTube channel. MFJJ here with PodiumArcher.com. Trying to wonder why it's halfway through 2024 and I'm doing a 2025 bow review. I believe this is technically a 2025 bow. Could be wrong. Pretty sure it is. This is the Elite Exault 35. What is this, you say? Well, this is what they're calling a hybrid bow. This is a target/hunting bow. The dimensions of it are very appealing for that world. Our specs on this bow are 35 and a 16th axle to axle. It's a 24.5 to 30 inch draw length. 1/4 inch adjustments just like the other bows. 6 and 13/16 brace height. 4.8 pounds, kind of on the heavy side. We'll see how accurate that is. It's available in 40-pound peak, 50-pound peak, 60-pound peak, 65, 70, and 75, and available in 7 camo patterns and 13 freaking colors for a grand total of 20 different options. As a dealer, that makes me want to scream. That's way too many. This is technically a target bow/hunting bow, so the non-hunting colors I can actually sell you and ship you, but the hunting colors you still got to go into your dealer. FYI for you. Speaking of your dealer, support your local shop, please. Go down in there, talk to them, get to know them. Let them know you're interested in learning how to work on your own bow, if that's why you're here, because that's why a lot of you are here. But in general, support your local shop. If they're absolutely terrible, I understand ordering product and not wanting to deal with them. But if they're even reasonably decent, you're going to need their help at some point. And if you're not buying things from them, they're not going to be there. So I only want you to buy things from me if you're going to order it anyway. Outside of that, please go support your local shop. And while you're on my site, use coupon code MFJJ to save you a little money. Now that we got that out of the way, this is honestly a relatively appealing bow to me. It's a little bit longer than I would like to hunt with, but it does look really, really ideal. It does have the same tuning system in here that they've always had. You still can change the spacers out here, which I appreciate having the option instead of being forced to use this. Still has the adjustable roller guard for changing your wheel lean. They did add this little doodad, which why didn't somebody think of this already? That's a Picatinny rail mounted to your limb pocket. So anything that you can mount a pick to, you can mount this to. And I have been informed that there will be a line of products from Elite that attach to this in the near future. So you can probably guess what product's going to go on here, but I'll leave that up to you to decide. In the meantime, any Picatinny mounted bipod will go on there. So you can use a rifle bipod as long as the angle is appropriate for setting on there and setting on the ground. So neat little thing, instead of making it just for one thing, making it a little more universal. I like to see that. What else did they add? Well, we have a front mount pick. Thank you, Elite. You were like the last of the party, but at least you eventually got here. And you can't see it underneath the little whisker biscuit I put on here, but there are both rear rest mount integration options. So you have the drilled holes for a hamski and the clamp on for the QAD stuff. So whatever type of rest you want to run integrated, you can run. Be anxious to see what quivers they come out with in 2025 and see if maybe they're a little more adjustable internally. Still have the same V-bar bracket option. So when I would give you a low rank for features, now I get to give you a high rank for features. This bow's probably going to do really good. The other thing that jumped out at me as really surprising is this is rated at 337 foot a second with the smooth mod. And last year, if you remember, when we tested Elite, they were really close to accurate. So this bow is probably really fast. In fact, I'm going to mention that the only thing I probably complain about is its weight, because it's 4.8 pounds. It's heavy for a hunting bow, but it's not for a target bow. So if you're buying it as a target bow, you probably really like it. If you're trying to get this in a hunter, you're probably going to wish they drilled a lot more of this metal out. But let's test some of this stuff and see what we get. Okay, so let's measure our overall riser length, which I can just do it with this, since it's got lengthies on it. I should probably buy a new one of these. So this riser looks like it's about 33.5. I'm going to call it right about there, maybe just shy of 33.5. Do you want to tie to that too or no? No, that's okay. Okay, so 33.5, and then our reflex measurement, which somebody sent me a really cool little tool to put on a square for measuring this, and I misplaced part of it. I'll find it and it'll be on here, and I really thank whoever that was that sent me that, because that was a really good idea to be able to measure this more accurately, because I agree, this does look a little hokey, a little janky. So we're like 2 1/8, I would say, reflex measurement. You go with that one?
Yep.
Okay. And then our brace height shows to the back of the string 6 and what 15, so the front's like 6 3/4. So that's pretty damn close to 6 13/16 to the middle of the string. So I'll have to give them that one's right. Cool. Let me jot those down and we'll do the next stuff. All right. Your side of the axle to your side of the axle. So that's 35. Boy, and a 16th, wouldn't you say? That looks pretty spot on to me. Yeah, numbers are good. Or that says a quarter. Shoot. Is that what it was? I thought it was a 16th. Let me check that again. Yeah, it's a little shy of a quarter. I'd say it's more like an eighth. Yeah, I'd say 35 and an eighth is what we're looking for here. So 35 and 1/8. Brace was, I'll give it, that was spot on 6 13/16. Reflex is 2 1/8. We need to measure the actual physical weight, which we're going to use this hanging scale for that. Right here. All right, it should be zeroed out. So with an arrow rest and the dampener on it, we're measuring at 5.0. Yeah, to 1, kind of bouncing all around that. So I'd say it's 5. So a published weight of 4.8 without that and that on there is spot on. I bet you money that is right at 4.8 if we unbolt those. So I'll give them that one. That's good. So let's measure that actual draw length. We should have this, unless I said it wrong, which it looks right from all the post settings, this should be at 30 inches. So we'll draw this back in the draw board and check it. Yeah. All right. So we got this back in the draw board and angled it so we can get in here and see the actual length, and I rotated the arrow. But this thing is like dead on 30 inches on that rear bolt hole, which does relatively line up with the pivot point. So it's super close to it. I mean, technically, that pivot point's probably more like here. So maybe it's 30 and an eighth at most, but it, according to the bolt hole position, which is typically where they would measure from, it's spot on 30. So hey, good job, Elite. All right. I still don't have the vibration tool fixed, so I'll just have to go off a feel and what I think the vibration is. But outside of that, we're going to shoot some speeds out of this thing, see how it is. These are our 350 grain arrows at 30 inches at 70 pounds, so this should give us 337 feet a second, according to their specs. As always, I love their grip. They do a really good job on the grip for duplicatability. Most grips don't feel good to the average person if they don't know what they're feeling for. Their grip's very easy to duplicate on. 323. So this does draw really easy and smooth and does feel very dead. Like vibration scale, I would give this high. I'm going to grip this one really hard and see what we get there. Yeah, it's very, very, very little vibration. 321. Duplicate 321. So we're going to call it 322 with the average of the 323 ones. So 322, 322. Now let's see what 450s and 550s get us for speed. Okay, so now we got 450s and 550s. There's my elbow pops. $287. It's a little stiff, not bad though. This is a smooth mod. I'd be curious to know what the performance mod feels like. 289. This looks just like the smaller cam. They made this last year, so I don't know if it's any different, but it feels a lot like it too. So it's probably the same cam as on the Kairos, I think. 289 duplicates, so we're going to be 289 on the 450. 289, 450. 550, whoop. Let's shoot 3 more. Try not to break any of them in the target. 261. $260. Oh. $262. So that's an average of 261. So 261. All right, let's set this down for a second. Okay, let's start at the top here with vibration. I would give that vibration at least a 4. It felt pretty dead. There's still a little bit in the front of it, but it was quiet, it was smooth, and I'm sorry I don't have the functional number for you, but we got a lot of feedback that we were using the tool wrong, and then the tool wouldn't start duplicating, so I'm going to try to find another tool before we actually hit our October-November stride of everybody's bows coming out in a high scale. The draw cycle, I'm going to give it a 4 as well. It was stiff for a smooth mod. For a performance mod, that would be a really nice draw cycle, but it was a little stiff, and you saw me come out of it a couple times. That wasn't ideal, but part of what it is. $13.99 for a target/hunting bow. Price-wise, I'm going to think about that. I'll either give it a 4 or a 5, because, I mean, well, there are more affordable versions of that. I'll give it a 4. But that's a really fair price for what you're getting here in a target comparison, considering a Title's $20.99. I want to say a Supra X, which is just a target bow, is that price point, if I remember right. So I think it's actually really reasonable, the price that they're asking for that bow. Grip, I'm going to give it a 5. I love their grip. They nail the grip every time. The back wall was good, and I think you can play with it a little more than I did. I'm going to give it a 4 because it could feel a little better in the back wall. But it's really good. If I could do, like, if this was a 10 scale, I'd probably give it a 9. Right? It was very nice. Balance, overall, it's actually relatively well balanced physically. Like, it's not tipping forward, it's not falling back at me, and it feels relatively good when I hold it. I'm going to give you a 5 on balance. Like, it felt really, really well balanced. Features. So we have all features. We have tunability here, quarter-inch increments, and massive let-off adjustment all the way up to 90%. A pick mount, a pick mount, a pick mount, lots of pick mount options, rear mount this, and I'm going to take this off so you can see it now that we're done shooting it, that it has both options, and very few bows have both options to be able to put either style of rear mount rest on them. Some pick one, some pick another. They did both, so you can put a Hamskea rear mount rest on there or the quad rear mount rest on there, and there's a lot of rests that use the quad system now. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of options for the rear mounting of this. So I'm excited to see if they really tweak up their quivers a lot to take advantage of the fact that you don't have to mount stuff on the side anymore. Tunability, V-bar bracket, making additional accessories here. Like, I got to give you high scores on features, man. Like, this would be a 5. Once again, if it was a scale of 10, I'd probably give you a 9, but I'd lean higher on the 9 just because there's so much. Tunability, I still think the ideal way to tune a bow is back here, not up here, but it does give the options of both. So I'm going to give you a 4 because I'd like to see this a little easier to adjust as opposed to that a little bit easier to adjust, but this is not a bash by any means, okay? Because you can do multiple things with this bow for tunability. Once again, I'd probably give it a 9 out of a scale of 10. It's like they're just right there. Let's do weight, 4.8. Now, we're going to revise this before the bows come out, so I don't want to get bashed when I don't give them a 5 for hitting exactly 4.8 pounds with 4.8 pounds. The category of weight is not just what does it weigh, it's what should it weigh, right? For how big, for what the dimensions of this bow are, should it weigh 4.8 pounds or is that excessive? And so I'm going to give them a 4. Because it does weigh exactly what they say it does, but I would like to see this bow come in at like 4.4 or 4.5 personally. This bow's heavy in relation. Your ATA was off a little bit, so I'm going to have to mark you just because it was off a little bit, but it's accurate. 35 is pretty long for me for a hunting bow, but this is a hybrid bow, and that's right the dimension I would put into it. I would call the hybrid category 34 to 36 axle to axle. for me. That's a bow you could hunt with and shoot target with and not feel like you're leaving anything on the table in either one. So that's a good dimension for what they're trying to make. I'm only marking you down because your number wasn't accurate. It was a little shy. Your brace height was spot on, and that's a great brace height. Like, one thing I really do appreciate and like about Elite is they're making bows with good brace heights instead of everybody being at like 6 or 6 1/4. You trying to lick hands while we're filming here, dude? Sit down. Come on. So, and you measured spot on, so I got to give you a 5 there. Your actual draw length was spot on. I got to give you a 5. I'd love to see your brace height between, or your reflex between 1 inch and 1.5 inches. 2, I'm going to give you a 3 here, just because anything over 2 to me is a lot as far as accuracy is concerned. But it's still not drastic. It's not like 3 plus. This is one where I'd want to give you like a 7. I'm going to leave it at 3. I'm struggling with it. It could be a 4, but I'm going to leave it at 3. And your speed. So don't get it twisted. For a 35-inch axle-to-axle bow with almost 7 inches of brace height, 322 is a good speed, but it's 15 feet shy of what you said it was. And we measured the draw length, and the draw length's spot on. So if you want to tell me I set the draw length wrong, well, then your draw length's off in the measurement. So here I'm going to have to give you a 3 because you're so far off. That's a lot. So, but it's still a very impressive bow. I just can't give it the highest marks when you're that far off on your speed. I got to beat you up on something. That's my job. So let's see what we end up with here. All right. So 5, 10, 18, 22, 26, 31 on the MFO. And 8, 9, 10, 11, 28 on the high score. Now, mind you, most of these things I'm measuring, I'm kind of basing it off a hunting bow, so it's a little crooked there, but I want to look at this a little bit more. Hang on. I feel like, so either speed or reflex, I got to add a point. It doesn't seem right. Like, I don't think that's a fair enough score for what they put out here. Yeah. And I'm going to do, yeah. I'm going to give you a 4 here on speed. Just don't be off by that far. When I first saw this published speed and this published speed, like, that's insane. Like, this is so fast. So I'll give you a 4 for that. That's probably fair. Like, if they were making those fine adjustments in the back, I'd definitely give them a 5 on tunability. Vibration felt good. And maybe, I mean, $13.99, I'd almost have to go back and look on other hybrid style bows to hunt with. I mean, I'm giving that a 5. I really am. Like, a bow that you can truly shoot target and hunt with, that you're not going to lose. I know I'm kind of being wishy-washy here, and this is not deliberate. I feel like that's not a fair score for what I shot. So 10, 22, 30. That's a 30. So you got a 30 and a 31 out of 35 on both. And comment down below on if I should get rid of the scoring system, or if you like it, or if it's fair or non-biased bias. I've contemplated going into just statistical numbers and ranking those and calling everything else out, so there is no opinion. Personally, I thought this was a really good way to do it, but I did get some criticism. But you're always going to get criticism because it's the internet, and there's a whole bunch of keyboard warriors that hate things and hate everybody, and they're hiding in their mom's basement and they're angry, whatever. But I still think this is a really good, fair way to do it. So give me some feedback on you at the public, whether you think this is a fair way to do it or not. Personally, I think that's a really good score because nobody should have a 35 ever, because it should never be perfect. But that's a really good bow. And for the money, I don't think it's unfair at all. Your local shop should be able to get these early August. And like I said, if you want a Target version, which I need to preface, Target versions are $14.99. It's $100 more for the shiny, pretty, frilly crap that those guys like. We can sell these to you and ship these to you in Target configurations, just not hunting configurations. Overall, I'm real impressed. For one reason or another, these bows don't sell great in our area and our environment, but they're very impressive bows. I've been very pleased with them. So if your local shop has them, give them a shot, give them a try. Like I said, make sure to support your local shop. That's really important. But if you are going to order it, we'd appreciate it if you'd order from us. Hopefully that works for you, because that'll work for me. Thanks a lot.